Monica stood perfectly still in the doorway of the hotel room, her hand frozen on the handle she'd just unlocked with the spare keycard she'd found in her husband's jacket pocket. The scene before her was every wife's nightmare made real. Sang-woo, her husband of 5 years, tangled in white sheets with a woman who definitely wasn't her. They hadn't heard her come in. They were too busy laughing, too absorbed in each other to notice the door had opened. Monica watched them for exactly 3 seconds, long enough for the image to burn into her brain, long enough for her heart to crack, but not long enough to break completely. Then she did something nobody expected. She pulled out her phone, opened the camera, and took a photo. The flash went off like lightning. Sang-woo's head whipped around, his face draining of all color. The woman, young, Korean, probably mid-20s, screamed and scrambled to cover herself. Monica took another photo. And another. Monica, Sang-woo started, jumping out of bed, grabbing for his pants. "Don't move," Monica said calmly, her voice steady as stone. "I need a few more for the lawyer. The lighting in here is actually quite good." She walked further into the room, ignoring the woman's hysterical protests, and snapped photos from different angles. The rumpled bed. The champagne bottle on the nightstand. Their clothes scattered across the floor. Sang-woo's watch, the one she'd bought him for their anniversary, sitting on the bedside table next to a woman's earrings. "Monica, please, let me explain." "Explain?" Monica lowered her phone and looked at her husband with an expression of clinical interest, like she was examining a specimen under glass. "Sang-woo, there's nothing to explain. You're having sex with another woman in a hotel room at 2 in the afternoon. The evidence is quite clear. It's not what it looks like. It looks like adultery. Which, fortunately for me, is still grounds for fault-based divorce in Korea with very favorable financial terms for the betrayed spouse." Monica smiled, and it was the coldest smile she'd ever worn. "So thank you for being so obvious about it. This is going to make everything much easier." She turned to leave, and Sang-woo grabbed her arm. "Wait. Monica, we need to talk about this." Monica looked down at his hand on her arm, then up at his face. "You have 3 seconds to let go of me before I call the police and add assault to the list of things my lawyer will be discussing with your lawyer." He dropped her arm like it burned him. "Good choice." Monica adjusted her purse on her shoulder. "Oh, and you might want to check your phone. I just airdropped all these photos to you. Consider them a souvenir of the day you destroyed our marriage." She walked out of the hotel room, down the hallway, into the elevator, through the lobby, and out onto the Seoul street. She made it exactly 3 blocks before she had to sit down on a bench, her legs finally giving out. That's when she started laughing. Not crying laughing. Because what she'd just done was so unlike her, so completely not the Monica she'd been for the past 5 years, that it was almost funny. The old Monica would have screamed. Would have thrown things. Would have dissolved into tears and begged for explanations. But the new Monica, the one who'd been slowly dying inside this marriage for the past 2 years, that Monica had just taken control in a way that felt terrifyingly good. If you want to see how Monica turned the worst day of her life into her greatest power move, hit that subscribe button right now because this story is about to get shocking. To understand what happened next, you need to understand how Monica got here. How a confident Nigerian woman with a master's degree in international business ended up married to a Korean man who thought he could cheat without consequences. Monica had met Sang-woo 6 years ago at a business conference in Dubai. She'd been representing her family's import-export company, one of the largest in West Africa, though she never led with that information. He'd been there representing his tech startup, all ambition and charm and big dreams. They'd connected over drinks, talked until sunrise, exchanged numbers. A long-distance relationship blossomed. He'd visited Lagos. She'd visited Seoul. After a year, he'd proposed, and Monica had said yes because she loved him and believed in the life they could build together. The wedding had been beautiful, a fusion of Nigerian and Korean traditions that brought both families together despite the language barriers and cultural differences. Monica's mother had warned her that intercultural marriages were hard. Sang-woo's mother had warned him the same thing. They'd both thought love would be enough. For the first 3 years, it was. They'd lived in Seoul, where Monica had taken a job with an international consulting firm. She'd learned Korean, made friends, built a life. Sang-woo's company had grown, and Monica had been his biggest supporter, using her business expertise and family connections to help him expand into African markets. Then things started changing. Sang-woo's company landed a major deal with a Korean conglomerate, and suddenly he was traveling constantly, working late, becoming distant. Monica had chalked it up to stress and success, giving him space, being understanding. But the distance had grown. He'd stopped asking about her day, stopped wanting to hear about her work, stopped seeing her as a partner, and started treating her like a convenient accessory, someone to make him look international and progressive without actually having to value her opinions. Monica had felt herself shrinking, becoming smaller and quieter to avoid conflict. She'd started questioning herself. Was she being too demanding? Too American? Not understanding enough of Korean culture? Not supportive enough of his success? She'd been doing that for 2 years. Slowly losing herself. Slowly becoming invisible. Until today, when she'd found that key card in his jacket pocket while taking it to the dry cleaners. Until she'd seen the hotel name and room number written on the little envelope. Until she decided to stop wondering and start knowing. Now, sitting on that bench, Monica pulled out her phone and looked at the photos again. And instead of crying, she started planning. The first call went to her best friend Amara, another Nigerian woman living in Seoul. Amara, I just caught Sang-woo cheating. What? Oh my God, Monica, are you okay? Where are you? I'm fine. Actually, I'm better than fine. I need you to do something for me. Anything. I need the name of the most aggressive, most expensive, most terrifying divorce lawyer in Seoul. Preferably a woman who specializes in taking cheating husbands to the cleaners. There was a pause. Then Amara laughed, surprised and delighted. Oh, this is going to be good. Give me 20 minutes. The second call went to her older brother Chaik in Lagos. Chaik, I need you to call in a favor with Uncle Emeka. The one who owns the shipping conglomerate? Yes. Remember how Sang-woo's company has that big contract to ship Korean tech to Nigeria? The one Uncle Emeka's company facilitates. Oh, I like where this is going. I need Uncle Emeka to know that Sang-woo and I are getting divorced due to his adultery. And I need him to make whatever business decisions he feels are appropriate with that information. Consider it done. Monica, are you sure you're okay? I'm perfect. I'm finally perfect. The third call was the hardest. Monica's mother answered on the second ring. Mama, Sang-woo cheated on me. I caught him today. Her mother's response was a string of Igbo words that needed no translation. Then, where are you? Do you need me to come? No, Mama. I need you to trust me. I need you to let me handle this my way. What are you going to do? I'm going to do what you taught me. I'm going to remember who I am. And I'm going to make sure Sang-woo remembers too. By the time Monica got home to the apartment she shared with Sang-woo, she had an appointment with attorney Park Mi-sun scheduled for the next morning, a plan forming in her mind, and a calmness that surprised even her. Sang-woo wasn't home. She hadn't expected him to be. She packed a bag with essentials, took several items of sentimental value that belonged to her family, and photographed everything in the apartment. Every piece of furniture they'd bought together. Every appliance. Every decoration. She documented it all with timestamps and notes. Then she went to a hotel. Not a cheap one, a 5-star property in Gangnam. She charged it to their joint credit card. If she was about to blow up her marriage, she might as well be comfortable while doing it. That night, Sang-woo called 47 times. She didn't answer once. He sent texts ranging from angry, "You're overreacting," to desperate, "Please let me explain," to manipulative, "This is going to ruin me if you tell anyone." She read them all and saved them. Evidence. The next morning, Monica met with attorney Park Mi-sun, a woman in her 50s with a reputation for destroying unfaithful husbands in divorce court. "I want everything I'm entitled to under Korean law," Monica said, sliding the photos across the desk. "And I want him to hurt financially the way he hurt me emotionally." Attorney Park looked at the photos, then at Monica, and smiled. "I'm going to enjoy this case. Korean law is actually quite favorable to foreign spouses in adultery cases, especially when the evidence is this clear. We can pursue fault-based divorce, which means you're entitled to a larger share of marital assets, plus compensation for mental anguish. How much are we talking? Depending on his assets, potentially 50 to 70% of everything acquired during the marriage, plus alimony, plus damages. When you say you want him to hurt financially, exactly how much hurt are we aiming for? Monica thought about the past 2 years of making herself small, of swallowing her opinions, of supporting his dreams while her own gathered dust, of becoming invisible in her own marriage. Maximum hurt, she said. I want him to regret ever taking me for granted. Then let's talk about his company. You said you helped him expand into African markets. I introduced him to the right people. Used my family's connections. My family's company facilitated several of his biggest deals. Do you have documentation of this? Monica pulled out a folder she'd prepared. Emails. Messages. Records of introductions she'd made. Contracts that bore her fingerprints even though her name wasn't on them. Attorney Park's eyes lit up. Oh, this is even better than I thought. You didn't just support him emotionally. You contributed materially to his business success. We can argue for a share of the company itself. Can we really? In Korea, if a spouse contributes to a business during marriage, even indirectly, they can claim a portion in divorce. And with adultery as the cause, you have significant leverage. He'll want to settle quickly to avoid public scandal. I don't want him to settle quietly, Monica said. I want everyone to know what he did. Attorney Park raised an eyebrow. Most clients want discretion. I'm not most clients. I spent 2 years being quiet and accommodating. I'm done with that. All right then. Let's make some noise. The divorce papers were served to Sang-woo at his office during a board meeting. Attorney Park had insisted on maximum embarrassment, and it worked. By that evening, the story had spread through Seoul's Korean business community. The tech CEO caught cheating on his foreign wife, who was now taking him to court for a substantial portion of his wealth. Sang-woo called Monica directly for the first time since the hotel. What the hell are you doing? His voice was shaking with rage. You served me at a board meeting? In front of my investors. I thought you'd appreciate the efficiency, Monica said calmly. You're always so busy. I figured catching you at work was best. This is insane. You're trying to ruin me over one mistake. One mistake? Sang-woo, you rented a hotel room in the middle of the afternoon to sleep with another woman. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. And now I'm making mine. We can work this out. Monica, please. I'll do anything. Great. Give me 70% of your company, the apartment, full ownership of the car, and 2 million won in damages for emotional distress. Then we can call it even. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, you've lost your mind. No, I've found it. See you in court. The case took 3 months. 3 months during which Monica discovered just how much she'd contributed to Sang-woo's success. Her family connections had landed him contracts worth hundreds of millions of won. Her business advice had shaped his expansion strategy. Her emotional support had kept him going during the hard times. And he'd repaid her by cheating and treating her like she was disposable. Attorney Park was ruthless. She brought witnesses who testified to Monica's contributions. She presented the photos with clinical precision. She painted a picture of a devoted wife who'd sacrificed her own career advancement to support her husband, only to be betrayed in the most humiliating way possible. Sang-woo's lawyers tried to argue that Monica was a gold digger, that she'd always been after his money. But Monica's own financial records destroyed that narrative. She'd brought significant wealth to the marriage through her family. She'd never needed his money. She'd married him for love, and he'd thrown that love away. The woman from the hotel, her name was Hygiene, and she worked at Sang-woo's company, was called as a witness. She admitted under oath that the affair had been going on for 8 months. 8 months of hotel rooms and lies while Monica had been home being the supportive wife. The judge, a woman in her 60s who'd clearly seen too many cases like this, was not sympathetic to Sang-woo. The final settlement shocked everyone, including Attorney Park. Monica got 60% of Sangwoo's company shares, the apartment, both cars, $3 million in damages, and alimony for 5 years. The total value was enough to make her independently wealthy. But more than the money, Monica got something else, the satisfaction of watching Sangwoo's face as the judge read the verdict. The realization that his one mistake had cost him everything he'd spent years building. After the verdict, Monica stood outside the courthouse giving a statement to reporters. Yes, reporters. The case had become famous, the foreign wife who'd fought back and won. I want to say something to every woman, foreign or Korean, who's ever been cheated on and thought she had to just accept it, Monica said into the cameras. You don't. You have rights. You have worth. And you have the power to demand justice. The video went viral. Monica became an unexpected spokesperson for women's rights in divorce cases. She started receiving messages from women all over Korea who'd been inspired by her story. 6 months after the divorce, Monica did something else that shocked everyone. She invested her settlement money into starting her own consulting firm focused on helping international businesses navigate the African market. The thing she'd been doing for Sangwoo for free, she now did for herself and charged premium rates. The first major client she landed? Sangwoo's biggest competitor. When word got back to Sangwoo that Monica was now helping his rival company expand into the exact markets he'd wanted to dominate, he called her one last time. How could you do this to me? He demanded. Do what? Run a business? Use my expertise? Succeed on my own terms. Monica was in her new office, a corner suite with a view of the Han River. Sangwoo, I'm doing exactly what I always could have done. You just kept me too busy supporting your dreams to pursue my own. You're trying to destroy me. No, I'm trying to build me. If that happens to impact your business, well, maybe you should have thought about that before you threw away the woman who is your greatest asset. I made a mistake, Monica. I told you I was sorry. You're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry you lost me. There's a difference. Monica looked out at the Seoul skyline, the city that had once felt foreign now feeling like home. But here's the thing, Sangwoo. I'm not your mistake to fix anymore. I'm your competition. And I'm much better at this than you ever gave me credit for. She hung up and blocked his number. That chapter was closed. A year after the divorce, Monica's company was thriving. She'd hired a team, landed clients across Asia and Africa, and built exactly the kind of career she'd always wanted. She'd stopped making herself small to fit into someone else's life, and started building a life big enough to contain all of her ambition. She was at a business conference in Singapore when she met James, a Nigerian entrepreneur who ran a successful fintech company. They talked for hours, and when he asked her to dinner, she said yes. On their third date, James asked about her divorce. Monica had been dreading this conversation, worried that her very public battle would scare him off. I saw the news coverage, James said. The courthouse speech. It was impressive. It was messy, Monica admitted. I basically went to war with my ex-husband in front of the entire country. You stood up for yourself, James corrected. You refused to be diminished. That's not messy. That's powerful. Monica felt something loosen in her chest. Most men would find that intimidating. I'm not most men, James smiled. I'm a man who values a woman who knows her worth. Your ex-husband was an idiot for not seeing what he had. 6 months later, James proposed. This time, Monica didn't say yes immediately. She made him wait 3 months while she thought about it. Made sure she knew exactly who he was, not just who he appeared to be. Made sure she was choosing from a place of strength, not fear of being alone. When she finally said yes, it was because she wanted to, not because she needed to. The wedding was in Lagos, surrounded by family and friends who'd supported her through the darkest time of her life. Sangwoo wasn't invited, obviously. But he sent a gift anyway, a crystal vase with a card that read, "Congratulations. You deserve happiness." Monica almost sent it back. Then she decided to keep it as a reminder. Not of him, but of herself. Of the woman who'd walked into a hotel room, seen the worst, and responded not with tears, but with strategy. The woman who'd turned betrayal into a business empire and heartbreak into a happier ending. She filled the vase with flowers from her wedding bouquet and put it in her new home office. Above it, she hung a framed copy of the courthouse photo, Monica at the microphone, telling her story, refusing to be silent. Every time she looked at it, she remembered, the worst day of her life had been the beginning of her best life. Because sometimes the thing that breaks you is the thing that finally sets you free. And that was worth more than any settlement money could buy. Now, if this story resonated with you, I need you to do something for me right now. First, smash that like button if you're Team Monica. Second, drop a comment telling me, was Monica's response too harsh or exactly what Sangwoo deserved? I want to hear your honest thoughts. And third, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we have so many more incredible stories of people who refused to be victims and became victors instead. Share this story with anyone who needs to remember their worth. Share it with the woman who's being taken for granted. Share it with the person who's making themselves small to fit into someone else's life. Because sometimes people need to see what's possible when you stop accepting less than you deserve. Until next time, remember this. Being betrayed is painful. But staying small out of fear is worse. When someone shows you they don't value you, don't fight for their approval. Fight for yourself. Take your power back and build something so amazing that they'll spend the rest of their lives regretting what they lost. See you in the next one.